Hello. I am not fully plugged in. One sec. Let's see. Try not to knock anything down. Ugh. Try to knock everything down. Always my goal. Come on. What's the problem here? Give me an effing break. How are you guys? Why is this not plugging in? Oh, just because it didn't feel like it. Okay, got it. Just wasn't in the mood. All right. So, just coming on live finally. It is late in the day. It's 8 o'clock at night, a few minutes after. And nobody knows that I'm live. So I'll give you guys a minute to figure it out in case you're interested, in case you want to come on into the live chat and let me know if you can hear me. Oh, what in the world happened? I had it all plugged in. And then everything felt like unplugging itself. Oh, it must be the ghosts. The ghost in the machine, right? Is that going to stay? I better get rolling with this. I must be cursed or something. All right. No one's here anyway, so it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. How are you guys? If you're catching this on the replay or if you're here, nobody's here. I'm so sad. I'm just going to leave everything the way it is. I'm not going to touch nothing. Okay. Hit your like button if you'd be so kind. And turn on your notification bell to ring if you want to be notified when I come on live. And get that out of the way so you can see where it says subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, please consider hitting that button. It does a world of wonders for the channel. And share a video of mine. Share my channel information with somebody that you think might like it. Oh, look, we have 2 people in the house. If you want to say hello and let me know if you can hear me, and then I'll know who's here. But if you feel like being shy or you're driving or what have you, that's all right too. That's allowed. So I titled this so that I would get right to the point with Tesla. Have you guys heard of Tesla ecstasy? It's a thing. How did I even find this out? I was reading an article, which of course I'll put a link to the article in the description. OMG, Tesla ecstasy. It has the little Tesla T on the pill, pressed into it. And it just really got me to thinking about some Bob Ross mints. Remember in the Kylie Rodney case? Remember the Bob Ross mints? We've all kind of forgotten about those. So Tesla ecstasy is like regular ecstasy, except it's like 3 times, 4 times as strong. And so there's a higher propensity to overdose. And it can also be laced with things like fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, and LSD. That's crazy. That's insane. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description so you know I'm not just like pulling this straight out of my rear end, because it sounds like it, doesn't it? It sounds made up, but I don't think it is, because I cross-referenced it and saw a few different articles about it and was just blown away. And it was yesterday or the day before. I wanted to come on live right away, but couldn't. Christine Herman, evening Jazz. Lovely to see you. It's been a minute. How are you, my dear? Tesla ecstasy. Does that blow your mind? It blows my mind both from the perspective of the Bob Ross mints with Kylie Rodney's case. You got to think about maybe Trinity Backus's case. Because one of the things that ecstasy does is it heats up your body temperature, but then it's also easy to die of exposure. So in Trinity Backus's case, they said that she died from exposure. And in Kylie Rodney's case, it was really cold out in the mountains on a summer's eve. And apparently she was wearing like a spaghetti string tank top thingy. Struggling, just got over influenza. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope that you're doing all right. That is rough. Isn't it crazy that people actually pass away from the flu? I mean, every time I have it, I feel like I'm dying. But I get my flu shot, so usually if I get it, it's not too bad. Did you get a flu shot this year? A couple of my family members did not, and a couple of them have gotten a really bad flu. So sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the strain. But I'm really glad that you're getting over it. That is so rough. If you want to share. So, yeah, this Tesla ecstasy being laid up got real stiff. So feel like I'm starting over with my mobility. Oh, my dear. Yeah, I know. A close friend of mine, she just had surgery and she's much older than I am. And I've been helping her out a lot since her surgery, since her daughter had to go back to where she lives. And yeah, it is rough building back up from that type of thing. Really rough. So yeah, I think her surgery was like 6 weeks ago now, maybe 4 weeks ago. And I wouldn't let her drive herself to her doctor's visit yesterday because I was like, look, I know how easy it is to get tired. I know you feel fine, but let me drive you. I was like forcing it. And I'm so glad I did because it was really rough. I mean, just like walking from the car to the door of the building. Had I not driven her, she would have had to have parked at the other end of the parking lot where I parked and then walked over. And that would have been a nightmare. No flu shot for this girl. Now, is that intentional? Do you not do them? Because I never did them my whole life until I was probably in college in my 20s. And man, I used to get the flu every single year around this time, really bad for like a week or 10 days. I would just be on death's doorstep. And then I've pretty much been getting them as consistently as I can my whole adult life. Especially when, I worked in a hospital and just doing evaluations, psychiatric evaluations, doing a lot of face-to-face with different people and being a psychotherapist. When you're working with the public, you better get your flu shot. It's kind of mandatory for you and for them. So Sherry is here. Hello, hello. So yeah, I'm compromised with the beginnings of stenosis. Oh, I'm so sorry. So you're not able to get flu shots? Yikes. Dang. And I'm not familiar with stenosis, but I am sorry to hear that. Oh, man. Yeah, dealing with health issues is so rough. It's so rough. No flu shot here since not working and had to. Yeah, my husband's a first responder, and so he always gets his flu shot, but it just kind of slipped by him this year. And then I got it for my daughter. Both of my daughters got their flu shots. I got mine, but my son that's still living at home, he did not get his, and he got a really bad flu. I would imagine that my son that's in the military out there in DC area, I bet they made him get it. But he's going to be a dad in a month, you guys. The baby's due on Easter. Is that so cool? That is so cool. In my opinion, it's my first grandbaby. So it's especially cool that it's Easter and that it's like the Orthodox Easter and the regular Easter are lining up all to be the same day, April 20th, I think. Say again what Tesla E is. Oh, it's Tesla ecstasy. So sorry, I've got my water I'm pouring. It's not pee. It sounds like it, but it's not. Tesla ecstasy is something that I just learned about a couple days ago. GMA, yeah. Or I wrote down the initials for it. I don't know. Oh, Grandma Jazz. I was like, are you trying to say the MDMA is the name of the drug? So it's a new superpower pill with the little Tesla symbol on it. But one of the things that ketamine can also be in it. So it makes me wonder, like, why are they doing that with the Tesla symbol? And it's only been around, I think, for a couple of years. I think it started in 2023 with the Tesla symbol, but I'm sure that it's been around longer. I mean, people like their rugs. They like their party favors, shall we say. And with all of the fentanyl deaths nationwide, and there was a lot of questions early on in Kylie Rodney's case if she might have overdosed. So I have a whole theory of what I think might have happened to Kylie Rodney. It's just a theory, and everything I say to poke at Elon, well, he says that he uses ketamine. So not to poke at him, but just to regurgitate what he's admitted to. So what was I saying about Christine? I'll be frank with you. I feel like you're poking at me. I'm just being frank. So it's kind of derailing my thought process. I was trying to say something, and what was it? Because yeah, Elon's a freak, man. He is killing our country. He's killing our democracy, and I don't know if you have a different opinion than that. No, I'm not. Sorry. So yeah, I'm not trying to poke at Elon. He's a monster. He's an absolute monster. And now with all of these attacks on his cars, and now he's trying to say there's like this big conspiracy with the left's, the deep state, that they're all burning down his dealerships and stuff. And it's like, well, why don't you figure out who's doing it, arrest them, find out who they are, because they may or may not be Democrat, Republican. For all we know, he's doing it to himself because he's not selling cars and he wants to get paid the insurance money. I mean, that's just a thought. And he wants to point the finger. It could just as easily be Republicans that are pissed AF with him because he's destroyed what was left of the Republican Party. Anyway, let me do my disclaimer real quick. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And I'll just warn you guys, because, you know, I miss you, Christine. It's been a long time. And I've kind of taken a turn with my true crime, and it's like political crime, because I think that politics are just crime ridden right now. And I feel like it's really important for me to pay attention to. So that's a lot of what I talk about. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of slamming on our current administration because, in my opinion, they are trashing this country. And thank goodness that it doesn't seem like they're getting away with it. And I didn't think that I could dislike anybody more than the two presidents. I don't know which one is which, until that Christine with a K, Caroline with a K. Caroline Levitt came around, and she's just like the most pompous, obnoxious, stupid, bossy weirdo. She's a weirdo. Ugh. So anyway, not my favorite people, but of course I pay attention to what they're saying and doing because I think it's important. I think it would be easy to just like look away from the train wreck, but it's a dangerous predicament. And all this crap with the Nazi, oh man, one sec. So I did my disclaimer and I started to say some stuff about the Kylie Rodney case. So Elon admits to basically that he has a ketamine prescription from a real doctor and that he just takes it as needed for when he's got something similar to depression that's not depression, just a chemical imbalance. And it kind of scares me that he's promoting using a substance for when you're having the feelings come up, because it's okay to feel depressed, and antidepressants are really good. He's really down on antidepressants, and I don't know why. I mean, antidepressants are very safe. They've been around for a long time. Nobody's ever died of an antidepressant overdose. The SSRIs like Prozac, Zoloft, that kind of thing, Wellbutrin. But ketamine is a substance that's used to put animals to sleep, and it's what Matthew Perry passed away from. And I don't know that much about ketamine other than that it is a substance that people like to abuse these days, like a party favor. But I saw a billboard in Columbus about ketamine for depression, and I'm not buying it. I don't like the idea of a tranquilizer that you use to euthanize an animal to make yourself feel less depressed. It's just weird. Anyway, Elon's weird. Elon is frightening. He says that he's got Asperger's or autism. And quite frankly, I think he's just a weirdo. And I don't think it has anything to do with being on the spectrum. I think that he's an addict and he's maniacal. And he doesn't have any compassion for anybody. And he doesn't protect his kid. Like, how he's always putting that little kid X on his shoulders, and everything is X, right? He changed Twitter to X. The kid is named X. It just makes me wonder if he likes X. And then I'd already been wondering that. And then I find out that there's these little Tesla ecstasy pills. And I'm just like, well, that's weird. That's really weird. But when he has that kid on his shoulders all the time, that's because he's afraid that somebody's going to try to assassinate him. And how many parents do you know that would put their kid between them and a bullet, them and a potential bullet? Most parents would put themselves between the kid and the bullet, not put the kid between them and the danger. He's disgusting. He's absolutely disgusting. And I feel like I figured out all of a sudden last night what our El Presidente's interest really is in this whole relationship with the big E and with PP, the guy from the USSR. So they had a long 2-hour phone call yesterday, little T and PP, as I call them in my videos these days, to try to not kick up the algorithm, not flag my channel as one that's talking about them, because, there's going to be bots and trolls, but let's not encourage them. Anyway, so they had a 2-hour phone call, and then he spoke with Laura Ingrams about it. Little T spoke with Laura Ingrams about it in a 22-minute interview. And I'm not a fan of Laura Ingrams at all normally, but in this interview that she had with Little T, she was phenomenal. She was phenomenal. She really challenged the crazy stuff that this old man is saying. I mean, he's just looking and sounding crazier and crazier. And I'm concerned about his health too. Not just his mental health, but his physical health. So I was going to take my glasses off and show you guys with, he's always got those giant bags under his eyes, which who wouldn't when they're president, right? It's a lot of stress. But now, yesterday, he had these really big bumps right here on either side of his nose. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if the shape of his face is changing or if it's like a sinus infection. But I think he should get it checked out. He's making less and less sense. He loves PP. He loves the president of China, the president of the leader of North Korea. Something wrong with him. And then he's talking about how he has great relationships with these people. Like, it's just weird. And then he says, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's like, no, these are fascist leaders of basically all three are communist countries. And the dictators hurt their own people a lot. Not to mention the 20,000 kids that PP has taken from Ukraine. It's just crazy overwhelming, but I am determined to keep looking at the train wreck and keep talking about the train wreck. So let me catch up with you guys. Christine says, hey, that's a thought. I thank the Lord I'm still on the upside of grass. I don't know what that means. Or sharing my meals with the worms. Oh, I do know what that means. Yeah, Christine, I know you've had a lot of health problems the last year, my dear. I'm so glad that you're on the upside of the grass. That's cute. I've never heard that phrase. I don't know if you made that up or if that's just one I've never heard. Doctor ordered ketamine and arthritis meds. It worked wonderful for my little old home health patients. Well, that's cool. Yeah. And like my mother was taking fentanyl. She had a fentanyl patch for the pain in the last few years of her life. And I know that obviously that's one that's very fatal, but it can be used therapeutically. Even cocaine can be used therapeutically. So stop sharing your exact thoughts of Elon Musk. I'm just so glad that the astronauts landed safely back on Earth. I got motion sick watching it and thinking about it because they said like 1 in 5 people, even the astronauts, 1 in 5 will get really sick after they come back, shortly after they get out of the little capsule. So that's why they don't want them to stand up, because sometimes they just like lose it. And I'm sure I would be one of those. I'm so motion sick sensitive. And then the whole 10 months out there, crazy. I'm really praying for the astronauts that they do well with recovering from the trip, because it's going to be rough on their systems. And physically as well as psychologically. I was saying to my husband how, as happy as they are to be home, they're probably going to be missing outer space. I mean, anyway, Sherry says, like every drug, when used correct, it's fine. When overused, end up like Matthew Perry. Right. I mean, not every drug, but I know what you're saying. Almost every drug. Like ecstasy, no, I don't think that's a good one to mess with. I mean, it rots your spinal column. And then H is also one that I don't know of any therapeutic values, but yeah, a lot of medications have therapeutic values. And yeah, medications and drugs, it's kind of interchangeable. But then a lot of people abuse prescription meds. Like, how many of us have heard of people abusing Adderall or like snorting their meds and selling them? And I mean, painkillers especially, right? Like, Oxy, that was a big one a few years ago. I'm glad you're good with the medication your doctor gives you, Sherry. As we get older and aches and pains come and go, we all need intervention. Well, I'm only 57, so I'm not that old. But yeah, as we get older, personally, I don't feel like we need to sign off our lives to aches and pains. I'm a big advocate of eating well and exercising and just being as healthy as we can be. And, age almost has nothing to do with it, because when you're young, if you're having health issues or you're not taking care of yourself, you can have as much pain and suffering as older people. But I know what you're saying. I know that I feel like we're kind of trained to think that we're supposed to accept the aches and pains that come with age. But I feel like, for myself anyway, I can only speak for myself really. This is why I've committed myself to yoga, and I've always wanted to commit myself to yoga, but I'm like, as I age, it's even more important. So I used to swim a lot. I used to do gardening a lot. I used to run a lot. I've done a lot of different things, but yoga is something that I've done sporadically my whole life, that I've always thought I should really do that every day. And I've actually been doing it every day, mostly for almost 2 years now. And I love it. I love it. I can't believe how flexible I've gotten. And how much I don't have the aches and pains in my back. And, I was rear-ended a couple of months ago, and I thought for sure I'd get whiplash, and I didn't. And when I stubbed my toe so badly a year ago that it almost broke the bone, and that's taken a long time to recover. And I've had to make a lot of accommodations with my yoga practice for the last year. But I'm so grateful to have my toe and my toenail. One sec. Yeah, we don't need any more rug addictions. That's for sure. The last 3 years, Christine says, that's great news for the astronauts. Yeah. No, you're right. I'm the old lady in the room. Well, I remember you saying a year ago, and I won't say how old, but I remember you saying your age. And yeah, my mother passed away 3 years ago. I just had the 3-year anniversary on March 8th, and she was 79. So she would be 82 right now. But I have a very close friend. She's my mentor from when I was in graduate school, who's the same age. She's 82, and she's doing extremely well. Extremely well. She's amazing. And I have another good friend, my friend's mother, who's 95, and she's been reverse aging for the last 20 years, ever since she retired. I mean, it's really amazing to see folks that are doing very well like that. I haven't done ketamine. I take as few meds as I can get by with, Christine. Same here. How's the hip, Christine? I'm 68, and you? I'm 72 now, but my mind doesn't think so. My hips are good, thank you. Yeah, the hips and the knees. We got to be so careful with our hips and our knees. But also, bone density is really important. Doing weight resistance is really good for that. And yeah, I'm just a big advocate of naturopathic types of medicine. And I'm also very supportive of what you call allopathic medicine, Western medicine, traditional meds. I used to be more all natural, but then I think it was when I did my psychiatric hospital internship that I realized that medications, Western medication, drugs, psychiatric drugs, or some of them are really good. People absolutely need them. And yeah, when I've had my surgeries with my all my children were actually cesarean. So I did a lot of hospital interventions with, especially the first one, that was a train wreck. But yeah, all the medications for doing surgery and morphine. Oh my goodness. When you get a cesarean, they pump you full of morphine as soon as the baby's out. And that's amazing stuff. I mean, it takes away all the pain for 24 hours. So you're just feeling great for those first 24 hours. And then when it wears off, they don't give it to you anymore. Maybe they, I think with the first one, they gave me a drip because, like I said, that was such a terrible emergency cesarean. It was 36 hours of labor, and then a blood infection that became extremely dangerous, and then they had to do the cesarean. And I think with that one, I think they put me on a morphine drip. I think I remember like squeezing it, but it's like with the other 3 subsequent cesareans, they didn't give me the morphine drip because I wasn't in such a dire medical crisis. You know, they were like planned cesareans, scheduled cesareans, rather than the emergency cesarean. Anyway, yeah, the hips and the knees. And, so I do my yoga routine every night, and I almost always videotape it and post it on my channel in my regular videos. And then my dog is growling down there. And I encourage people that want to try the yoga to give it a shot, because I designed it for myself. It's my master class. It's yin yoga. You're like laying down on the floor mostly. If you're not laying down on the floor, you're sitting down on the floor. There's none of it where you're actually standing up, but there are a couple of balancing things. Like one is the shoulder stand, and then another one is when you're on your knees, and it's called the camel pose. Anyway, yin yoga is very low key, and you hold the positions for a long time, and it really helps get oxygen into your bloodstream, and it helps your stress level, and it's restorative. It just helps your body heal. So how is Coco? She's right here. She's doing great. Her poor little booty. I took the dogs to the dog park today for like 90 minutes. It was awesome. They're exhausted, so she's like passed out right here. So anyway, I wanted to talk more cases. Here we go. The Bob Ross mints, the Trinity Bacchus. Also, ecstasy is what the girl Madison Felter was on when she ran over Paisley Woodard. Do you guys remember Paisley Woodard from Kylie Rodney, Trinity Bacchus, and Francis Fowler? So Francis Fowler was Trinity Bacchus's boyfriend, and Paisley Woodard was his girlfriend that was hit by a car about a year before Trinity passed away. And Madison Felter was the girl who hit her, and she was allegedly on ecstasy when that happened. So, yeah. I'm just laughing because I looked at one of my notes and I haven't figured out how to like put this into conversation. But you guys know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is. She's just about as dumb as Caroline with a K, Caroline Levitt. Like, she's really not an intelligent person, and she says a lot of crazy, stupid things. I mean, she's pretty nuts. And anyway, she calls American citizens taxpayers. She calls us tax people. I'm just like, that is so weird. And I've heard her say it a couple of times, and I've always wanted to talk about it on my channel, and I haven't yet. So, tax people. Are you guys tax people? I'm a tax people. I mean, I pay my taxes. Oh my goodness. Like, how weird. Like, don't politicians have to pay taxes, or is she exempt because she's in our government? I don't know. I've just never heard anybody call anybody a tax people. They graduated from Trump University. Now, are you kidding, or did they really? Because didn't Trump University get sued for all kinds of phony crap? Love seeing everyone's pets. I don't have one anymore. Oh, I'm sorry, Christine. Pets are the best. And yeah, I would pull Coco right up here for you, except that her, she had cancer surgery. Well, she had the surgery twice, and then she had the radiation. And then she had a very severe reaction to the radiation. So she's been recovering from that. And she's doing very well. She's laying down here. She's very happy. She likes to be near me. And because she had that super long play date at the dog park, she is exhausted. It's a poke. Okay. You had me, because they might have. Like, that whole thing with Trump University was so weird. Like, I don't understand the whole like scam factor of what we're facing in our government right now. And then thank goodness, like, all of these government agencies that have been closed down by Doge, thank goodness, I think more than 20,000 people that were fired have been ordered to be reinstated. So I guess the Apprentice, they're going to have to change, maybe they can make a TV show. I think they are, called Government Apprentice, and it's called You're Rehired. Or that's like the catchphrase, the slogan, You're Rehired. OMG. So I've been watching this channel. Have you guys heard of Hal Sparks? He's probably right around my age. I was born in 1967. He was the only adult, I think, on a television show called Lab Rats that my kids used to watch. But prior to that, I knew him from a show that I loved called Talk Soup that was really funny, which maybe that's what I'm going for on my channel, just to kind of do the free association Talk Soup thing. And I liked the guy who was before Hal Sparks. I think that was the guy who then went to Tosh.0. But Hal Sparks was fantastic. And then he went over to the Lab Rats thing. And then he's done a couple other things. And now he has a podcast like everybody under the sun, right? And I had heard a lot of the channels that I like to watch, the political channels. I'd heard them talking about how great Hal Sparks was. So I thought I'd check it out. And I was just like, I don't know. He's kind of weird. His hair's all long now. He used to be very clean cut, very good looking man when he was younger with the clean cut. And now he's kind of like a freak. I'll just be frank. But he is sharp AF, and he's funny AF. And he just went on this cruise recently because he's also in a rock band. So he, like that woman that fell out of the cruise ship, Faster Pussycat's girlfriend, Kimberly, I have her name written down. Anyway, that very, very sad situation a few weeks ago. So that was like an 80s rock band cruise, and the Faster Pussycats were the headliner band. And I was following that story. I don't know if there's no foul play or what, but it was suspicious AF, in my opinion, especially because she fell out of the cruise ship like on day 1 or day 2. And it was like an 8-day cruise, and she was really excited about the cruise. So why would she jump? They said that she jumped. They said that they have evidence that, like video evidence, that she climbed over the railing and jumped. And I just don't buy that. I don't. I haven't seen the video. I don't know that the video really exists. Sometimes video doesn't tell the whole story too. So there's that. It just, I mean, the guy, the singer for Faster Pussycat, he does not look like a trustworthy kind of guy. It drives me nuts when I can't remember things. What are their names? I have them in here. I have them in my handy dandy notebook. He has a really weird name. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Where did it go? I know it's in here. Not going back any further than this. It has to be on this page. If not this page, then this page. Dang it. It can't be that far back. Anyway, we'll just go with Faster Pussycat lead singer and Faster Pussycat lead singer girlfriend, right? No, especially for the victims, I really like to know their names. I really like to say their names because they shouldn't get forgotten about. And, it seems like they try to make somebody like her look not important by publishing really unflattering photographs of her. And not buying it. Not buying the story that they're selling. Okay, I have to give up. I have an issue. I can't give up, That's how I am. I keep saying one more page. Okay, it'll be here because here's George Smith, who was the man who fell off of a cruise ship 20 years ago this summer. And it was on his honeymoon, and he still hasn't been, that case still hasn't been solved. So Kimberly Birch is the victim who fell off of the cruise ship, and her weird boyfriend is Tame Down. And I think it was at the beginning of this month. So just like maybe a week and a half ago. And then Andrew Smith the fourth is the groom who fell out of the cruise ship, the Royal Caribbean cruise in 2005. If you guys knew about that when it happened. I was really shocked when I looked up that case. I was really shocked to find out that it was still unsolved. But the three young men that seemed like they probably helped him fall off the cruise ship happened to be from the country of Russia. So interesting. And then the other person that the skanky wife was flirting with, because she was like making out with these guys. The fourth one was an employee of the cruise. So, of course they're going to try to cover it up, because doesn't that put a big black mark on the cruise ship? And the whole thing with cruise ships is weird anyway, because if something happens to you, anything, whether it's getting the flu or falling off the ship or domestic violence or other violence, you're like in outer space as far as laws and jurisdiction goes. Basically, whatever it is that the captain says is what goes, right? So, anyway, let's get back to where I was at with all of this stuff with the politics. This is a quote from our president, you guys. He literally said largest everything when he was in that 22-minute interview with Laura Ingraham. We had the largest everything. He's trying to talk about how Canada should become our 51st state. And he's like, we would cherish Canada. We would take care of them. We would protect them. It's like, why does it sound like he's trying to woo them like a marriage proposal? So weird. So weird. Anyway. Yeah, I'm really blown away at this crap that Elon's talking about today, trying to act like there's some kind of conspiracy against his company, Tesla, because it's not a conspiracy. I think that a lot of people are disgusted by him and despise him for his weird antics. So, he had a grandfather that influenced him a lot, who was like a NAZI kind of thing. And that grandfather seems to have a lot of influence over our current president. So this is something that Hal Sparks was just talking about. So I want to give him full credit. And I'll put a link in the description to the live that I was watching, where he shows a map that Elon, or let's just call him Big E's granddad, had this map of the United States of America that included Greenland, Canada, and Mexico, and even Venezuela, I think. And I think he made that map like, I don't know, 75 years ago, something like that. But it seems like that is some kind of guiding force with little T. And then little T is like babysitting X. Have you guys noticed this? It is weird enough when Big E is taking X with him wherever he goes. And then when little X is telling the El Presidente to go away and that he's not the president, and then he wipes his booger on the desk. And then like they cut that out of the footage that I saw, was him like the little 4-year-old like picking his nose, and I'm just laughing thinking, yeah, we all know what little kids do after they do that. They either eat it or they wipe it on something. And it just cut. That it didn't show either, but I think what they cut was that he wiped it on the Resolute desk. And I'm just like, wow. And then I heard that they took the Resolute desk out of the White House, out of the Oval Office, to like refinish it. You know, of course you're going to want it disinfected after something like that. But I mean, that's a really, really, really big piece of furniture. And are they really going to disinfect it, or are they going to burn it and get a new one because, you know, it has cooties now? I don't know. Good chatting with you, Christine. Got to go, Jazz. I'll catch up on replay. Well, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Lab Rats rings a bell, but no, nothing else. Maybe she was rug-addled. Oh, she being Kylie Rodney or Trinity Backus. I mean, we know Trinity Backus was on stuff because that was how they told that story, was that she was doing bong rips and then she freaked out and that she thought there was like radiation in the backyard, and then she ran out of the house with no shoes, and then she was found 2 days later. That whole thing was just nuts. You know, I always go back to Kylie because I don't think we'll ever find out what happened to her. But I started to say, that's what I started to say back at the beginning when I got off my train of thought. One theory that I have I think it's a new theory for me. One sec. So it was with the Tesla pills and the Bob Ross mints, and thinking about all the information that we've been exposed to about the whole thing with Kylie Rodney over the last 2.5 years. And I was thinking, like, what if, I've thought about this before, like, what if she fell off of a cliff? What if that was part of the story with how she fell in that hole? So my theory, just to try to string it together cohesively, is that maybe she was lured out to that party because Scammy wanted to have a fight with her, because Scammy was jealous. All the boys wanted Kylie, and Scammy wanted Jägermeister. She wanted the Hamburglar kid, and both of them had eyes for Kylie. How dare they? And Scammy was into theater. I think she might have been a little bit into music too. I think there was like music theater that she did, but we know she was a little drama queen. And then Kylie was like a prodigy, a musical prodigy from the time she was 2. And extraordinarily talented and wrote her own music and did that wonderful recording on Spotify with Crepe that had been released sometime over that previous year. And I can only imagine the jealousy of that. Anyway, so I think that Scammy lured her out there to fight her. You know, they want to call it a friendly fight. They want to talk about this fight club crap and how there's no drama and it's just to break up the party, you know, just break up the time, you know, just for entertainment purposes, blah, 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 blah. But remember all the bruises on Scammy and remember all the bruises on Xaname. So what if they were fighting and then Kylie fell because they're out there in the woods and it's dark, you know, in the sanctuary. And I'm sure there's not just holes like the one Elsa talked about, but there's going to be little cliff areas too. I mean, we've all seen footage of it. There's definitely cliff areas out there. I mean, you're in the Sierra Nevadas. It's dangerous AF, you guys. The whole idea of like going to party in the woods in the dark, and I know that they said that they did this all the time, but maybe MC Ultra was lying when she said like, oh yeah, we've done this every year for the last infinity years. Maybe that's crap. I mean, going to party in the woods with teenagers and rugs and alcohol in the dark, it's not just like a Lord of the Flies kind of thing. I'm always thinking Blair Witch Project, Silence of the Lambs. What else comes to mind? I mean, that's just scary. I mean, look at like Libby and Abby in Delphi. I mean, you don't just like go out into the woods and do whatever with random people. I mean, if you're going to party in the woods, you're going to want to be careful. Deliverance, that's another one that I've thought of over the years. I'm like, yeah, out there in the woods where like anybody could come upon you. Anybody could come upon a bunch of teenagers that are all strung out on magic mushrooms and LSD and ecstasy and pot and alcohol. And, you know, if they're criminals, they could have their way with a lot of teenagers out in the woods. I mean, come on. Anyway, so back to my theory about that maybe Kylie was rugged with something like ecstasy and with the fighting, and she fell off of a cliff. And then Scammy and Xaname recovered her. And that was like what was gruesome. Remember, if anybody saw anything gruesome and needs to talk to a counselor, we have counselors for people who saw something gruesome. And so, you know, she was badly injured. She was compromised. And how shall I say, trigger warning. And she was really hot. So, you know, I've always had suspended my suspicion of Scammy having designs on her, as well as a lot of the boys out there having designs on her, not just Jägermeister and Hamburglar, but all the boys. I mean, come on. Kylie was a knockout. And I'm not saying that Scammy wasn't a knockout, but she was a freaking biatch and full of herself. Oh, and I wanted to say this. Like, so Shan found out that Scammy's parents were in control of like $34 billion worth of government contracts through the decade of 2020 to 2030. So that made a lot of sense why Scammy was in control of the investigation, and she was in control of all the law enforcement, and she was the social coordinator. She was in control of all the teenagers of Truckee and blah, 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 blah. But let's just say that what happened to Kylie, let's just say that rather than her parents being who they were, let's just say that they were like I don't know, billionaire's kid. She was a billionaire's daughter. We know that her granddad did pretty well for himself. We know that her mom and her stepdad, not so much. They took care of the lodge, and her mother lied about employees so that she could get the PPE loans that then she had to pay back. So they were financially not solvent, let's say. But let's say that, what if Kylie had come from major wealth? Like if her family was in control of $34 billion of government contracts for the town of Truckee over that decade of 2020 to 2030, would her demise be so covered up? We know that it's a sham. We know that what they said happened is not what happened. So something happened to her that the kids wanted to hide her, and then they thought it was safe to hide her car right there near where the party was, because that area had already been searched. So I really think that they hid her in the car there right before it was discovered by AWP. And then when AWP found her, and everybody was so mad at them because they totally screwed up the plan. Like, that wasn't the plan. The plan was that she wouldn't be found. Or then if she was found like a year later, then, all the evidence would be to hell in a handbasket. So that's kind of my theory. That's kind of where I'm at with Kylie. What do you guys think, if you're still here? Yeah. I think she was talking about the ship lady. Oh. There really is no telling what really happened. Well, there is and there isn't. I mean, there's a lot of lies. There's a lot of schmevidence. And I mean, we know for a fact that Kylie's either deceased or abducted. I mean, I don't think she's abducted, and I don't like to go there because I think somebody needs to be held accountable for her being deceased. And if she was abducted and being trafficked, trigger warning, it would be harder to hold somebody accountable. It would be much harder. But it's possible. And I used to say it kind of jokingly that she could have been trafficked by somebody like Diddy. But, there's truth to every joke. And then especially with her dropping that song Far Away on SoundCloud, that's going to put her on a lot of people's radars. And when I say people, I'm talking about people like R. Kelly and P. Diddy, people that are constantly scouring the world trying to find hot, new, young talent so that they can cash in on that hot, new, young talent and take advantage of them, like the way R. Kelly did with Aaliyah and so many others. So there's no way she went unnoticed. I mean, she wasn't just talented. She was also brilliant. She was really, really sharp. I mean, they tried to tell us that at the beginning of the case, but it was hard to wrap your mind around, because it's like, okay, well, she was 16 and she graduated high school. She was homeschooled and she graduated super young with honors. But then, she was just like light years ahead of most of those kids, it seems like, especially somebody like Scammy, who probably had a lot of trouble finishing school. We know Jägermeister had a lot of trouble finishing school. He was very challenged with that. We saw that in the graduation tape, the tape of his graduation ceremony. And then it was Jägermeister. There were people talking about how hard it was for him to finish. And I was going to say, wasn't one of those people the Hamburglar's dad? But then I was like, maybe it wasn't him speaking up on the stage, but he was there. The Hamburglar's dad was at Jägermeister's graduation. But was he on the stage speaking about it? I can't remember. It's been a long time. Let's see. Unfortunately, I think Kylie case is kind of at its end. No one really pursuing case except Mark. The last I saw, Shan was doing that Grok thing where she was like plugging all of the information into artificial intelligence to see what Grok would come up with as a story. And yeah, I know. I mean, the thing is there's no statute of limitation on Red Rum. And there's a lot of other cases that have a lot of similarities that as the years go by, people talk. And we can hope. People like Mags, people like Kate Cuneo, people like Jägermeister. Sometimes it's even the perps themselves, if indeed Scammy is the perp, and I think she is, in my opinion, she definitely is, which is why she wanted to control the investigation, because that's what perps do. I mean, it's just typical. The narcissism, oh my goodness. But yeah, I totally feel you, Sherry, and I agree with you that kind of at its end, but not really at its end. And yeah, Mark was not doing anything for a while, and then I don't know if he still is. But yeah, other channels do things on Kylie also, like not so much like hardcore, but I see other channels talking about it. Even like the Imprint, she puts up posts a lot. And then BoobTube TV and Truth Seeker. And then there's others too. I hope someday we do find out. I just want justice for Kylie. I mean, it's just so crazy. The whole case is so crazy. The whole freaking case is so crazy. And then, just the whole thing with like the Donner Party, the cannibalism in that area, and the Titanic type of stuff. It's just weird. And then, like the Hamburglers lived really close to where the Donner Party tragedy happened. And, the Lost Trail Lodge was kind of close to it too. There's not a lot of houses up there. It's really hard to get to. I mean, the Lost Trail Lodge was so off grid. In the winter, you had to snowshoe or cross country ski in. I don't think you could even take a snowmobile because of the avalanche risks. So it would take like 4 hours to get there from the road in the winter. I mean, I guess that's great if you want an off-grid vacation. So it'd be really nice for the people going out there for a couple of days or a week. But to raise kids out there is pretty wild. Like, not to mention dangerous. Like, those kids could fall in an avalanche or go to parties with a bunch of mean teens out in the woods and never come home. I mean, just like what happened, right? Crazy. Yeah. Scammy day will come. Yeah, I think Scammy's day will come, Sherry. I totally agree with you. I would hope she is in heaven versus being trafficked. I feel you, and I would almost hope that she's still alive, even if it's that hideous, because I think people that have survived that type of thing are so happy to be alive. And it's such an impossible thing to survive, but people do. People do. Well, that's good too. I don't follow a lot of creators. Good to know. Oh, well, I appreciate you following me, Sherry. That's super sweet. Yeah, there's so many good creators on YouTube. It's crazy. And there's so much crap on YouTube too. So, it's like I've been doing this for a couple of years, 2.5. I think I'm getting my first payment in the next 5 days from YouTube, which will be exciting because that's just been a runaround for almost as long as I've had my channel. Like, I started my channel in the fall, and then it was like Christmas that I got monetized. And then they've just said there's one problem after another where they keep saying that they're going to pay me and then they never do. And so the last thing they said was that I needed to go to the Social Security office and get a new Social Security card. I can barely say the word. It's like a tongue twister. Because I have a hyphenated last name from my marriage, but I never got my Social Security card hyphenated because I never needed it. It's like I have my driver's license hyphenated, all my bills are hyphenated, my bank accounts, and then even when we file our taxes, it's always hyphenated. So they were like, well, it needs to match your Social Security card or we can't pay you. So I finally went and dealt with that, which I didn't think I ever would because they've been saying that for a really long time. And I was like, okay, someday I'll go to the Social Security office. So I finally went and got it all taken care of. And so they say that they're going to make their first payment. And then, I'm just grateful that I've had this channel. It'd be nice to get some revenue from it, but I'm really glad that I've built the channel and kind of built my brand and my habit, my way of doing it, just winging it and not doing it for money. Because, the first couple of years, for most of that time, I had a full-time job that I didn't need to worry about it. And then I resigned from that last year. And then I've been doing the yoga stuff. And, I'm still a licensed mental health counselor, and I can still do like consultation and crisis intervention and stuff like that. But yeah, it's good to be able to just focus more. And I feel like if I know this is making revenue, I can just focus more on it because I've always kind of been creative with my art and industry and business. And so I've been a small business owner since I was a teenager. My first small business was jewelry designing. And then my second small business was private practice. And then, this would basically be my third small business if it turns into a business. So far it's just been a hobby and it's been great and I love it. So I'm glad to have established myself on the streets of YouTube as not something for revenue. So yeah, I thank you for the congratulations. I would love to get my first payment just to have it. I mean, it's not that big. It should be a lot bigger. I mean, if it's like what they do is when they say they're going to pay me is they let it build up and then they freeze it when they don't pay me. So it's like it's built up a couple of times and it's only like $400, which if they hadn't froze it all the time, it would be like 10 times that. So it would be nice to have it roll in, but we don't need to talk about money anymore. Let's talk about more stuff with ideas about these cases, because there's so much. One of the things, and I want to give Hal Sparks full credit for this again, because I thought he was talking crazy, and then I was like, OMG, he could be right. You know, the thing with getting all of these young men on these airplanes, these young men that they say that they suspect are from a Venezuelan gang or Venezuelan gangs, and then they flew them to El Salvador, and then they shaved their heads, and they have them like looking down all the time, like they're not allowed to look up. It's very, very reminiscent of, it's just horrid. It's absolutely abhorrent. What else have they done with them? You know, so they basically have kidnapped them. So whether they're from Venezuelan gangs or not, they've kidnapped them, but they don't have any lists. And remember, there was the judge that ordered any planes that were in the air with these people on them to turn around, and any planes that hadn't taken off yet to be grounded. And they ignored the judge's order. And so they say that they have a few hundred people, and they've shown these videotapes. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The other thing that's so disgusting, not just the shaving of these young men's heads, but then all of the soldiers look like executioners with the black hoods on with like little slits for the eyes. And it's just like, could they be any creepier? I guess if they were doing that with like women and kids, yeah, they could be even creepier. But I mean, it's really bad the way it is. So Hal Sparks had this bizarre idea that maybe there were not people on the planes. Maybe that was a sham. That was just them trying to say we kidnapped all these people and we have them in El Salvador now. Like why would you take these Venezuelans to El Salvador? And then is it the Venezuelan government or the El Salvadorian government? We're paying them millions of dollars, or they're paying us millions of dollars. There's an exchange of money for keeping these people prisoner. I think we're paying El Salvador millions of dollars. It is scammy. It's scammy. So Hal Sparks has this whack idea that he just shared on his live tonight, that maybe it's bogus. Maybe they didn't kidnap all of these guys, because again, whether they're in Venezuelan gangs or not, you still need to know who they are. And there's no proof of anybody being anything or anyone. There's just these weird videotapes of these guys that are all like the same age and size and with the shaved heads. It's just like, it's so freaking creepy and bizarre. So then there's this whole thing. Did I mention the 20,000 children? 20,000 children. This is real, allegedly, that are Ukrainian kids that have been basically kidnapped by PP, right? So they're in the USSR, what used to be the USSR. 20,000? Unbelievable. And then our president wants to be friends with this guy? Our president was friends for 25 years with little E. Our president got Andrew Tate released from jail. I'm not sure where he was in jail. Was it like Spain or something like that? And then had him flown into, where do you have him fly into? Let's see. Well, he had the Tate brother fly into Florida, Miami. That was a couple weeks ago. And then I'm like, where's this Tate dude staying? Is he staying at Mar-a-Lago? Like, isn't the Tate dude the guy with the Silk Road? I think it is. I think it's one and the same. But we know that he brags about being a trafficker, basically, a human trafficker. So let's see. Just trying to figure out if Andrew Tate was in Spain. Oh, he's a former kickboxer, British American internet personality. God, he's so gross. I used to kickbox too before COVID happened. Let's see. He was arrested in Romania. He was arrested in 2022. He was arrested in 2024. He was on house arrest and then released after 5 months. Yeah, that was a Romanian court. So he's denied all the allegations against him, but yet he's bragged about these things too. So February 28th of this year, what is Andrew Tate accused of and why has he traveled to the US? So it was him and his brother that came from Romania. Such disgusting crap. 38 years old. So they've both been charged with SA. They both are still under criminal investigation in Romania. Was that I thought it said Budapest. It's Bucharest. Never heard of that. They deny all wrongdoing. and he's repeatedly invoked the matrix, a term that right-wing male figures have used to decry when they see conspiracies against them. Disgusting. So he flew into Fort Lauderdale. I was incorrect. I said Miami. And then even Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis is a really despicable individual, in my opinion. Even he finds them despicable. Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct, DeSantis said. Well, that's nice because he does tolerate a lot of disgusting crap, in my opinion. I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. Well, I think how it came to this is El Presidente. So Tate posted earlier this month on X that they'll be free because little T is the president. And he has over 10 million followers on X. Tate does. But having that many followers, like how many of those are real? How many of those are bots? That's a lot of followers, 10 million. I've never even heard of anybody having that many. Anti-organized crime. Oh, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That kind of violation of others. It's so gross. Let me let the dog in. Come here, Mookie. Come on in, baby. I got both dogs in here. Come here, baby. I need to wrap up too, so it's 9:30. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Sherry. You're very sweet. I don't know if you're still here. It was 6 minutes ago the last time you made a comment. And it looks like I've got 3 people here, so hello to everybody. So this is my last page of notes. Man, there's stuff going on with the Idaho case. Jules is having a live tonight that I don't want to miss. I don't know if it's on yet or not, but she had a short video where she went over some more texts released between Bethany and Dylan. And it has like the records of like all the Snapchat and photographs. And those girls seem to me to probably have the red stuff on their hands, like literally. Like, who's to say that they didn't do it? Not just that they're cleaning up and covering for people, but who's to say they didn't do it themselves? Let's see. Oh, here's a good quote. Somebody said, it was a comment that somebody made on someone else's video, and the content creator shared the comment, and I was going to screenshot it so I could remember where it came from, but I wrote it down. I would be annoyed if people were getting paid to hate Elon when I've been doing it for free. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. This was something that Hal Sparks said when somebody was talking about grave danger. I think Elon said something about grave danger. And Hal Sparks was like, is there any other kind? Yes, Sherry's still here. Lots of creators covering it. Yes, I always felt that we sus. Oh, covering the texts and the photographs. They're so suspicious, but I feel like it's the university, it's the Greek system. This is talking about Idaho 4, and it's the roommates, and it's the law enforcement. And then, the Idaho 4. So yeah, I'm glad a lot of people are covering it, but I was really disappointed. I watched a video today from a channel that I used to really like called Unmasked True Crime. She did a lot of really good work on the Watts case. She did a whole series of unmasking NK that was phenomenal. So she hadn't made any videos in like 10 months. I think she had a lawsuit with Truth and Transparency or something. But anyway, she dropped a video today, so I was all excited to watch it. And I was very disappointed. She's assuming that it was the criminal defendant that did the quadruple unaliving. And she's assuming that he did it because of the termination letter. That termination letter is bogus. Like, I don't know whether he did it or not, but I know that termination letter is 1,000% bogus. I knew that from jump. I knew that from the very first day that little freaking Gigi with her red hair and freckles released that first video where she's like, oh, look at the letter that I have. And for like the first 10 minutes of her video, I was falling for it. And then I was like, no, this girl's. Mm-mm. And then Ashley Banfield tried to pretend that she had that letter. That letter doesn't exist. And if it did exist, it being leaked from his personnel file, the university would get slammed for that. But no, that termination letter does not exist. So the video that I was so disappointed in today was talking about Buddy, the dog that was red rummed a few weeks before the quadruple homicide. And I've covered that many times. I mean, I've got my little puppy dogs here. I love dogs. And yeah, a lot of people do disgusting things with animals. So we all know that adorable little Aussie shepherd was like skinned and filleted. Sorry, trigger warning again. So in this video, she's saying that he was filleted like a fish, and then relating that to the criminal defendant having worked at a fish hatchery, that he wasn't very good at it because he wasn't good with the knife. He wasn't good with the fish. He wasn't good with the people. He just wasn't good at it. He didn't have that job for long. But I'm thinking every freaking guy in Idaho, every single guy in the entire state fishes and hunts and fillets. So that's insane to try to like say, oh, well, it was obviously him if Buddy was filleted because he worked at a fish hatchery once. It's just like, yeah. And the lead detective on the case has owned a meats and locker company up there in Bonners Ferry since he was like 17 or 18 years old. So probably almost 20 years now. And he's like way into hunting, and he likes to hunt wolves, which I thought that was illegal. Maybe it's not illegal in the state of Idaho, but it's disgusting hunting wolves. It's just gross. Anyway, I just was really shocked to see this, like, especially amidst all this information coming out about Bethany and Dylan, and how dishonest they've been and how dishonest law enforcement has been. I don't know. I do not know. Let's see if I got anything else here. Lots of people involved, like Kylie. Right, Sherry, I totally agree with you. And yeah, I don't think that these cases would have you and I and so many others so hooked if it was straightforward. I mean, obviously, that's the cases that we're interested in are the ones that don't make any sense. No real evidence on BK. Tragic that he's in jail. Yeah, I think that he is like the perfect patsy. And I still think he got hired by the Pullman Police Department. And then when people want to say that this stupid letter of termination would like motivate somebody to do what was done at that 1122 King Road address, like, what about all of the people that lost their jobs at Wazoo, at Washington State University? They have their own police department. Their sergeants are making six figures. So if their sergeants are making six figures, then imagine how much the captain, the police chief, and the assistant chief were all making. And all three of them, and that looks like I have four, but I have three. All three of them got put on the administrative leave because of the crap that was Matthew Kurt had pulled with his sexcapades. And then Chief Jenkins, who was the guy who interviewed Koberger over there at Pullman, retires and then steps in to be the interim chief at Wazoo to basically like clean up their mess when he had the exact same mess over there with his Pullman PD. In fact, the situation that he had with that one officer whose name I always forget, Dan Hargraves, I got it this time. Dan Hargraves had Matthew Kurt with him when he assaulted this 18-year-old while she was in custody, while she was intoxicated, while she was having a medical event with her low blood sugar. She was assaulted by both of them. So Matthew Kurt was with Wazoo. Dan Hargraves was with Pullman. So Jenkins was Hargraves' supervisor when that happened. And so then he goes in to clean up the mess that they made over there at Wazoo. So all three of those guys, the police chief, the assistant chief, and the captain at Wazoo, they all basically got resigned in lieu of punishment. They were under investigation. They were going to be reprimanded. And they were able just to walk away. And that was like in the summertime. And that's when Jenkins took that job, because before he came in, they had Dawn, what's her name? Dawn Daniels? Is that her name? I think so. Dawn Daniels was a sergeant who then held down the fort. She did all three of those jobs. She was the police chief, she was the assistant chief, and she was the captain while she was a sergeant. So she was doing 4 jobs for one paycheck until the investigation wrapped up, and then they all quit. And then Jenkins came in, and then Matthew Kurt didn't get forced to resign until November 4th of 2022. And then November 7th or 8th, I think it was the 7th, but it might have been the 8th of 2022 was the election day where Chief Small Fry's wife, Julie Fry, won the position for clerk of courts. So she's the one who controls all public records requests. And she'd just gotten that job like 5 days before this unaliving. And she was already the treasurer. She was already in charge of all the finances for Moscow. So timing is everything. Timing is everything. So with Matthew Kurt having to resign on November 4th, and not just him losing his job, but the other 3 losing their jobs too, wouldn't they have motivation to do some horrible crime like what they're trying to say that fake letter of reprimand motivated Kohberger to do what they're accusing him of? And yeah, not one person did all that. Like, sure, it's possible that there was a ninja, but do you really think that Kohberger was a ninja? I mean, he's kind of like dorky and awkward. He's no freaking ninja. He's no hunter. He's no kickboxer. He's a nerd. I mean, I say that with all due respect, you know. He's an academic. Sure, anything's possible. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's just so freaking unlikely. And it's so much more likely that the girls who were in that house, not for 8 hours before they called for help, 9 hours. Even in the texts, it's like the last time that Madison texted or called Bethany, I think was like 2:56 or something. So things happened at 3:00, just like the police had said for so long. They said that for the first 6 weeks until the PCA came out and they arrested Kohberger. And then all of a sudden they had the clock set at 4 a.m. At around exactly about 4:00 a.m., all these things happened. Nothing happened before the clock struck 12 or, 4. Sorry, brain fart there. But no, everything was done by 4. everything happened from 3 to 4 is what they had said in the beginning. They were sure of that. They were so sure of that, 3 to 4. So what that does is it gives a whole nother hour for the disintegration of the evidence. It gives a whole nother hour for frozen shock phase. So then instead of trying to convince everybody that Dylan was in frozen shock phase for 8 hours, they'd be having to try to convince everybody that she was in frozen shock phase for 9 hours, which is even harder to believe than the 8 hours. I mean, the whole thing, I could believe it at first because, trauma is traumatic and people respond in weird ways. But that story quickly fell apart. And now with the release of all of this digital information, it's long gone. That doesn't mean that they won't still pin it on Koberger. Because what are they going to do? Take down the whole university? Take down the whole Greek system? Take down the whole freaking Moscow PD? They should, in my opinion. They really should. But I was very encouraged to hear about a big protest in Boise a few days ago. I was very encouraged. I was like, whoa, Idaho? They're having a peaceful protest in Boise, Idaho. It was either anti-little t or anti-big E. I don't know if I wrote it down in here. I don't think I said this. I think I got interrupted in my thought process. So I'm glad that I'm covering it before I wrap up. I think that little t wants, did I say it? I'm like, it's late at night. My brain is melting. I think that he wants the rare earth minerals from USSR for his buddy, the big E. I think there's probably a lot of lithium in the land in Russia, and his little buddy Big E needs all that lithium for all of his stupid cars and all his stupid spaceships, his rockets. But I think that little t will do anything to try to get those resources for the Big E, because little t was broke. And then Big E was bailing him out, and now Big E is broke too. It's a beautiful thing. Getting their comeuppance. So, yeah, it was really wild to see Laura Ingram's being sick of this petulant child that is our current El Presidente. And then both he and Big E keep talking about these rogue judges. It's like, aren't you guys rogue? I'd say that these two El Presidentes, that you don't even know who's actually El Presidente. I don't think it's little t. I think it's the Big E, and that's not allowed because he's not even a freaking he wasn't born in our country, which is a requirement. But he also worked illegally when he had his first company. I hadn't understood this so clearly. I finally got some clarity with it today. When he dropped out of school, and his brother too, they were both here in our country going to college on visas, and they dropped out of school, so they weren't in school anymore, meaning that they would need to reapply for their visas or leave the country, be deported, self-deporting. But they didn't. They started businesses and they started making all this money. And a lot of people talk about that they were here illegally when they started their businesses. And I haven't really been able to wrap my mind around it. So, and then little t talking about Canada being one of the nastiest countries to try to negotiate with. They're so nasty. Trudeau is so nasty. He's the nastiest individual. The way he kept saying that nasty word and saying it to Laura, but about Canada and about Trudeau, it felt to me like he was threatening her because she kept confronting him, that he was saying, you better stop or I'm going to call you that nasty woman, the way he likes to with people like Hillary Clinton, that nasty woman. Oh, and then this is the last thing I'll talk about, I think, before we wrap up, because we're getting close, kind of close to 2 hours. He said, I don't care. He said, I don't care so many times. I counted it. In 30 seconds, he said, I don't care 6 times. And I think he said 3 of those I don't cares in like a 6-second period. It was so childish. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. It's like, and then notification Jules just popped up. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'll wrap up too. But let me read the rest of what you said. I appreciate that so much, Sherry. You're the best. Thanks for being here. Patsy, just like Richard Allen in Delphi, new stuff coming out on his case too. Have you seen the photographs, Sherry? Did you? I hate to even talk about them, but you know, the photographs from Delphi, they're not too graphic, and they've been put out in the public's arena with the trial. But one of my content creator friends sent me an image of each of the victims, Abby and Libby, and it's terrible, but looking at these images is very informative. It's so sick. But if you haven't seen those photographs, email me and I'll email them to you. I just ask that you don't put them on the internet. Oh, you already got them from me. Okay, good. What do you think? Like, so basically, for anybody who doesn't know, it's just like sticks on, and it's not a lot of sticks. It's just a few sticks on them. To me, it looks like they're in a formation of a rune, if you're familiar with runes. And I don't know that much about runes. But it's like a weird, almost, it's like symbols, right? And so some people think that they're symbols of Odinism. What does Google say about runes? Ancient alphabet used to write Germanic languages, each symbol representing a sound and having deeper mystical meanings beyond simple letters. So it's a runic alphabet, is what it says. So let me see if I can show you guys, just so you get an image in case you don't know what I'm talking about. Can you see that without the glare? I don't know, because it's got this white background. It's harder to see when it's not a black background. I have my phone set up so that it's white letters with a black background so that you can normally see it. Well, I'll put a link. Yeah, you can't see anything. I'll put a link to it in the description. All I did was Google runes, and it's the AI overview, and it has a screenshot of the runic alphabet. So it was odd, but looked like Odinism stuff. I pulled stuff up on the internet. Yeah, and I don't know much about the Odinism. The first time I ever heard of it was when Drip Drop from Crime Circus did a couple videos about it, and I think he was specifically talking about the Delphi case, but then he was also tying it to the Idaho 4. And the weird thing where the two intersect is the 2 traffic stops that Koberger and his dad got pulled over by law enforcement in Indiana. And this case with Richard Allen in Indiana, that other guy, Ron Logan, whose property it was, who was on probation and had lied about his alibi and had a history of domestic violence and being creepy with teenagers. And he was a farmer. They were found on his property. I don't think I've followed up with my true crime channel since I had found out that he was a horse farmer. I mean, I wouldn't say farmer. He had horses. So I guess you say horse farmer. I don't know. But that's like high end. I mean, having a farm is usually significant that people have money if they have a farm. And then livestock, again, you have to have money to have livestock. So I don't know how long he had that property. I think it was a really long time. I think his parents moved into that property when he was 12. I think he lived there for 60 years now that I'm remembering. But he passed away February. And then Richard Allen was arrested later that same year. And I don't remember if that was like February 2023, because I haven't followed that case that closely. Anyway, the year that he passed away in February, Richard Allen was arrested within a few months, maybe like no more than 5 or 6 months. But the fact that they were on his property, the fact that he was on probation, the fact that he was allegedly a domestic violence perpetrator and allegedly inappropriate with teenage girls, it makes me think that law enforcement was tight with him and that they were in on it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up since it's getting close to 10. My brain is melting. And he had white vehicles too. Well, like I said, I hadn't followed the case that closely, so I don't know what the white vehicles, but yeah, I remember him having a white pickup truck that he was driving around when that happened. Because then he like called his friend or relative, I think it was like a cousin, to, oh, right, because he wasn't supposed to be driving because he was on probation. But he had driven himself, and then he tried to get his cousin or whoever to say that they had driven him to like some kind of craft shop or something. Right? Yeah. Correct. Ron Logan. It amazes me when my brain works. So yeah, I didn't know anything about Ron Logan until just a couple months ago. And then that's when I suddenly got more interested in the case, because it was like all the pieces of the puzzle were falling together. And then when I found out that he bought and sold horses, I was like, oh yeah, that's, somebody with some financial stature is usually what it takes to get away with crimes. Unfortunately, it's disgusting. But yeah, if you're poor, you're going to get it pinned on you. And, Koberger's kind of poor. I mean, we know that his parents had gone through a couple of bankruptcies, and he's a freaking college student, so he's not got much money to his name. At the time of the arrest, he was 28 years old. So now he's 30. And let's just say he doesn't get charged with this, although I think he will. Whether he's guilty or not is immaterial. I think he'll be charged with it. But let's just say if he didn't get charged with it, like, how would he ever be able to live a life? I mean, his name is mud. So even if he doesn't get charged, he's still screwed. On that, let's hop over to Jewels of All Trades, possibly. Maybe I'll see you there, Sherry. Thank you kindly for being here this entire almost 2 hours. That's amazing. You were so cool. So love and light, and be well, be blessed, be nice to yourself, nice to others. Never stop seeking truth. And we're never going to give up. We're never going to give up on Kylie. Ever, ever, ever. I mean, we can't. We don't have it in us. It's not even a choice. It's just a compulsion. I mean, it's just not right. Someone's got to fight for these people. And, you know, her family was probably threatened and they were probably paid off because, again, they weren't coming from a place of wealth. I'd say her granddad kind of wealthy, but her biological dad was in business with her granddad, so he's not doing too shabby. But, you know, Lindsay and her new husband, new-ish, you know, the father of Kylie's half-brother, he is a convict. He's an ex-con. He served time for domestic violence with corporal injury, meaning that he probably broke somebody's bones or a bone or something like that. I believe that that's what that means, domestic violence with corporal injury. So I think he served 3 years in prison for that. But again, when you have a scar like that on your record, you're ineligible for a lot of jobs. You'll never be hired for a lot of jobs. And then, you know, running the lodge was a good business venture for the two of them. But man, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And then having this whole raising two kids in an isolated area like that. I mean, raising two kids in Truckee, even in like a neighborhood, I mean, there's not a lot of kids there. There's not a lot there other than the ski industry. You know, we've seen what a small town it is. I want to say the population of the town in the summers probably only like 10,000, but then in the winter it's like 100,000. I don't know. Anyway, it's getting late. My brain is fried. His life is screwed. Love you. Love you, Sherry. Peace out. And we will not give up on justice, right? Never give up. Again, we couldn't if we tried. So, oh, and do you like my hat? It's for Air Force, but I like it because it's like AF, you know? That's why I wear it, is because it's my AF hat. But yeah, keep on keeping on. Have a really good night. Love to you, my dear, and thanks a million. You are so cool for being here for me for this whole time. Otherwise, I would have been by myself. And yeah, I mean, we had our other friend here too, and that was nice. Hadn't seen her in a long time. So I was going to just highlight that one and then going to hit the end stream. All right. Take it easy. See you soon. Thanks again.